What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Karina Dean here, and I'm doing an impromptu talk on Uranus and Taurus. Uranus and Taurus is coming and will be remaining here for the next about 7 years. So this is a huge transit. We got a taste of Uranus and Taurus in 2018, and Uranus retrograded back into Aries to complete some unfinished business, and on March the 7th, Uranus will enter back into Taurus. And I wanted to talk to you today about certain things that have been hitting my heart when it comes to this transit. And some of the things that I want to cover today are the misconceptions of Taurus, right? So some of the things that people stereotype about Taurus but don't truly understand. The dark side of Taurus, what are the things that we are going to have to overcome during this transit? And then mixing cold earth with spring earth. So Uranus energy is rulership over Aquarius, which is actually, Aquarius is cold air, excuse me, so I got to fix that. It's actually cold air with spring earth. And actually, let me fix that right now because I did that wrong. So I want to talk about the elemental changes of cold air and spring earth, right? Warm earth. So one of the misconceptions that we find with Taurus is that people automatically stereotype Taurian energy as being stubborn. And this is because Taurus is a fixed sign. It's in the middle of a season, of the spring season. And we do see this as a very strong force of stubbornness, right? One of my favorite astrologers, Samuel Reynolds, he actually has a fantastic talk on the radicalness of Taurus. And when you look at the etymology of the word radical, and he says Taurus is the most radical sign of the zodiac. And when you look at the etymology of radical, right, the radical root of the word radical is actually that very word. It's root. It's about planting yourself exhaustively, persistently into a certain position in order for you to stand your ground against what you believe in, what you value, right? But it's very often that Uranus, the planet Uranus, is associated with radicalness because it is rulership over this energy of the uprising. So when we bring in Taurus and Uranus together, right, or bring Uranus into Taurus, what we are going through now is a major uprising through standing your ground. And so stubbornness, just like jealousy, like things like jealousy and stubbornness, baby's here with me. When you're facing jealousy and stubbornness, right, it's often pegged as a dark nature, right, a bad nature, a bad aspect, or bad characteristic. But it can actually truly be something that is a window of opportunity for anyone who is ready to take that kind of challenge. So if you're joining me, I'd love for you to just interrupt me whenever you can and want to, in regards to what you feel this Uranus and Taurus energy is about, what questions that you have, right? And I really would be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. So radicality is about rooting yourself into a position that you stand for. And with Uranus and Taurus, what I think we're going to find is even more explosive energy of people who are looking to stand up for themselves, right? Taurus is a self-indulgent sign. That's one of the dark sides of Taurus. So it's standing up for yourself, standing up for your morals, standing up for what you not just believe in, but what you esteem as priority, right? That's what you value. And Taurus is also about the higher quality of things. And so what we're going to have also is the uprising of what is truly high quality. very often in society, how we conduct ourselves is based off of old traditional ways, right? And we're kind of stuck in those ways. That's the Uranus and Taurus message, that we're stuck in a certain practice or way of being. And now that Uranus is joining Taurus, it's about upgrading, right? Upgrading and appreciating the practices that we have in society that are truly beneficial, and creating an upheaval of any sort of practice in society that is not of higher quality. So we're dealing with everything that has to do, everything circled around, excuse me guys, everything circled around what is of the best quality. So this is really what Taurus is about. A lot of people naturally peg Taurus to be stubborn, but what Taurus really is about worth, and standing for what is valuable and what is worth. And that stubbornness is actually rooted in the word radical. It's about being radical by not being immovable from that standard. And so what we are really looking for, and what the entire collective is challenged on, what that new standard is. Okay, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's going to take some time before we really see changes. I don't feel that that is necessarily the case. One of the reasons that I feel that that is not the case is, well, the reason that people say that it's going to take time, they say, oh, because Taurus is slow and it takes a long time to change. But on the contrary, right, we've actually had Uranus in Taurus already, so we've already started to taste some of the changes that we want. And on top of that, the first decan of Taurus is in the cusp of Aries. So we're dealing with fire Taurus. Okay, so I'm going to dance around the misconceptions of Taurus and the dark side of Taurus. Now, one of the dark side of Taurus is that we deal with grudges and holding on to things. The first decan of Taurus is about the lava energy, right? It's fire and earth. And so where a lot of people are saying that it's going to take time for certain things to happen or change, I actually feel like this first spurt of energy is going to be something that is instant, because Uranus energy is instant. The other thing that I think is that it's going to seep out like lava. It's going to be like a rumble, if we truly look at how the earth works and volcanoes work. First, you see like signs that the volcano is going to spill over, and then like you have the ash, you have the burning, and you have the rumbling, and then truly then the volcano erupts, right? And this doesn't happen like so sometimes it happens like over months or weeks, but when you have a truly active volcano, it can happen instantly. So what I really feel the energy is a rumbling. So when you look at Aries, the energy is just pure explosion. It just comes out. But with Taurus can get just as angry as Aries, right? The dark side of Taurus is that they harbor the energy until it is too much, and then it explodes, and it can be even mightier than Aries energy because it is held on resentment, held on energy, right? So when we're dealing with Uranus and Taurus, the radical changes that we may feel are, in my opinion, going to be something that you saw coming. It's not something that is going to be like completely out of the blue. Now, the change itself may be unpredictable. The change itself may be instant. But with Taurus energy, it has been a rumbling of some sort. So this happens on a collective basis, right? When we're dealing with a very distant planet like Uranus, but also within the people that are affected by this transit. Now, everybody's affected by the transit because everybody has Taurus somewhere in their chart. But if you have personal planets, right, and especially in the first few degrees, you are going to probably be experiencing the first instant changes in your lifestyle and how you conduct yourself, right? Or let's say that you have, even like certain positions in the sky, like Chiron, Lilith, if you have any sort of or the North Node, right? So these aren't planets, but they are positions or asteroids or points in the sky that are truly in alignment with your chart, as long as you have it in the first early degrees of Taurus, you, within these next few weeks, may be undergoing a major shift and rumble of a volcanic eruption. And for everyone else, this may take time. So people say, oh, it's going to take time. It's not going to take time for everyone. Those who have concentrated early degrees of Taurus in their chart, they are the first under the radar of the volcanic explosion. So where you have Taurus in your chart over the next 7 years, you embody Taurus. So just remember that we aren't just one zodiac sign, we are in the entire signs, and we can pull from the signs energy, right? So where you have Taurus in your chart is where you are predictable, right? Where you may have harbored resentment, or people harbor resentment towards you, and you are going to undergo a major radical shift. And part of the radicality of this shift is standing your ground, is being immovable, is not moving at all. So this is something that I wanted to really just point out when it comes to this energy. It is a very different energy than Aries, right? It's youthful like Aries, but it has a very more mature approach and stance. Also remember that when we're dealing with Uranus, we're dealing with generational energy. So that's why the standing for something becomes something even outside of yourself, which is the battle of Taurus, to be self-indulgent or to be for others, right? And Taurus is actually a sign that actually is about indulgence, right? But it's also a sign about partnerships. So truly there's this conflict, this duality in Taurus of being about themselves and being selfish, or being about others. And this will be also where you have Taurus in your chart, where you may experience this duality and this push and pull. Where you have Taurus in your chart is where you may experience the harboring of your own resentment, or experiencing the resentment harbored by others. Where you have Taurus in your chart is where you may take a serious stand for yourself or for somebody else, right? But this is where we come to the level or note that I wanted to talk about, which is mixing cold air with warm earth or spring earth, right? So we're dealing with air, which is the element of communication and the energy of communication. That is Uranus. And then the earth, the warm earth, is Taurus. So we're dealing with a confrontation based off of sharp words and language. And this could be something that is not very fun for some people. Also, the language may be aloof. The language may be something that is esteeming itself to be higher than another, right? So like maybe there's a conversation or a confrontation that happens during this transit in which you're dealing with somebody who sees you as below them, right? Or you are the one that sees the other person as below them. So we're dealing with equality shifts with Uranus and Taurus, right? And there isn't really this good or bad when it comes to this energy of having higher tiers or lower tiers. But Taurus truly is an energy of self-worth. So whatever is the whichever argument within the confrontation that is more rooted in self-worth, upgrading, and bringing in a better quality of life, that is the one that is probably going to win the confrontation. Okay, so dealing with this energy, one of the things that I really recommend is to look at where do you see yourself in the world, and see what is it that you want to contribute or stand for in this world, so that when the energy hits you, you won't be completely shocked by the confrontation that is inevitable to occur, okay? Uranus and Taurus, this Taurus energy does not want confrontation, but Uranus energy wants upheaval. So what we also might experience are back-end ways in which people are making moves without telling anyone, right? Or people are pulling from a darker side of harboring resentment and then doing something or taking action that is not for the good of everybody, but more for the good of themselves, that too could be the dark side of this Uranus and Taurus energy. But overall, we're looking at a personal, radical statement that is happening, right? So that's my little 2 cents when it comes to the personable side of Uranus and Taurus. Now I want to talk really briefly about the more technical global shifts that could be happening. Taurus is a sign of money, right? It represents the monetary gain that we get from the person that we work for, right? If you look at its rulership over the 2nd house. So the concept of value, worth, and who's paying us are going to be some of the things that are also radically shifted. And so old traditional ways of how people make money, right? Of how you value yourself, value your time, value your worth, value your efforts, your services. These are all major themes that are going to come up because this radical change about money is inevitable with the Uranus and Taurus transit. This also has to do with material goods, right? The material way that we have money. And Uranus is rulership over Aquarius, which is an energy of technology. So we're dealing with money in a very technological basis that is looking to really move us forward into the future, right? So how we have been handling money is also going to be a major shift. So one of the things that I think we did see, and this was before Uranus even came into Taurus, was the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency. And I actually do feel that that was just a glimpse of what is to come. I can't really tell you like if cryptocurrency is here to stay, but the idea I think Naya loves cryptocurrency, as you guys can see. She has a lot to say about that. But the idea of cryptocurrency, right, and that direction moving in that direction of exchanging money on a technological way is also going to be one of the major changes that Uranus and Taurus transit wants to support, for the collective. So one of the things that I recommend in this transit when it comes to that technological monetary gains is, are you happy with how your employer is paying you, right? And what are the old traditional ways that are not upgrading the way that you get paid, right? Maybe there's something in your job atmosphere that they could change, like how they're paying everyone, or maybe there is definitely a promotion that is guaranteed to many of you, right? Or maybe there is just an overall complete change in the field of work that you're doing during this time. Okay, so Taurus energy is hardworking, and so when we're dealing with hardworking energy and the technology, we want to be appreciated for that hard work. And that is also the key with Uranus and Taurus, is working hard versus working smart. And I think that working hard might be still the stronger argument at this time. But truly to free Taurus, to freedom for Taurus, right? Because Uranus is an energy of freedom, right? Sovereignty is to allow for there not to be so much burden that is carried. So Taurus is the bull. The bull is representative of a symbol that we put luggage and baggage on, right? A bull carries a lot of things, so that is typically how that energy is appreciated and seen, as the one that carries the load. And Uranus and Taurus energy is about freeing it from whatever depiction of being the carrier of hard work, or being the carrier of the load, or being the carrier of people's baggage, or anything like that, right? So it's about freeing that wild animal, allowing that animal to be less domesticated, and allowing the Taurian part of you to be more wild in nature, right? A lot of people might say that Sagittarius energy is more about wildness, that it's contained with Uranus energy, so it's still about responsibility, but freeing it from being the one that holds the baggage. So I hope that you guys enjoy this impromptu talk on Uranus and Taurus. I know that a few people have asked for me to give my insight, and I didn't go through the houses or the signs. If you're interested in seeing what house and how Uranus is going to play out in your chart, you can definitely hit me up. And I would love to take a look at your natal chart and see if it's hitting any natal planets. You can find the dates that Uranus hits your planetary alignments, and you can make plans in regards to that as well. I hope you guys have a great night, and I will see you in the next live. Bye now.